Hello, my name is Hope Boynton, and I'm a member of the Sequatchie County FCCLA chapter, and I will be competing in Level 3 of Public Policy Advocate. This is my portfolio. Throughout this project, I used the FCCLA planning process to help me map out my project. My concern was that the death penalty may be unbalancing the scales of justice. I was also deeply concerned about Purvis Payne's case. I wanted to educate people about the biases of the death penalty and hopefully change the minds of people who were in support of it. I also wanted to meet with Tennessee Congresspeople to discuss House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1236. I had also set the ambitious goal of speaking with Governor Bill Lee about Purvis Payne's case. From December 2020 to March 2021, I was able to speak to 2 representatives and many anti-death penalty organizations. Throughout my advocacy, I was able to have a phone conversation with Representative Ron Travis, and I had an email conversation with Representative and House Committee member Bud Hulsey. Sadly, the bill I was advocating for won't pass. In December and January, I was able to educate people on the racial biases of the death penalty when Brandon Bernard and Dustin Higgs were executed. Although I was not able to speak to Governor Bill Lee, I plan to continue to try and reach out to him before Purvis Payne's execution date of April 9th. This project most closely connects to FCF Standard 3.2.2. During this project, I reached out to representatives and senators to advocate for the passage of House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1236. I was also able to see the process that a piece of legislation must go through in order for it to be voted upon. My issue concerned Tennessee state policy, criminal justice reform, and civil rights. Through my research, I learned that the death penalty is a system riddled with racism and can often be abused by our government. Specifically, Purvis Payne is awaiting execution for a crime that he did not receive a fair trial for and might not have even committed. Throughout this project, I wanted to raise awareness about the flawed death penalty system in America. I wanted to advocate for legislation supporting the reformation of the death penalty. Through education, I wanted to change the minds of people who were pro-death penalty. I wanted to meet with legislators and speak to Governor Bill Lee as well. In order to have a successful project, I needed to research the death penalty extensively and become well-versed on the topic. I needed to find partnerships as well. After becoming well-educated on the topic, I will need to reach out to legislators and speak with them about the death penalty. In hopes of getting Purvis Payne off of death row, I would need to speak with Governor Bill Lee. As you can see here, these are a few of the questions that I wanted to ask legislators and potential partnerships. The pros and cons of the death penalty. The pros. The death penalty can be seen as constitutional according to the 4th and 15th Amendment. The death penalty may deter potential offenders from committing capital offenses due to the fear of a death sentence. The death penalty is viewed by some as a way to end the cycle of violence before it damages too many lives and serve as closure to victims' families. The cons. It is less cost-effective to execute someone than sentencing them to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Some people believe that the death penalty does not deter crime. The justice system can be racist and extremely flawed, which might result in a false conviction. Tennessee first started executing people in 1916. The first man to be executed was a black man named Julius Morgan. After executing someone nearly every year from 1916, executions in Tennessee stopped from 1960 to 2000. Robert Coe was the prisoner who broke the near 40-year execution-free streak. After his execution, there was another execution-free period between 2000 and 2006. From August 2018 to February 2020, There have been more executions carried out in Tennessee than in any other 2-year period. Presently, there are 50 people on death row in Tennessee. There are 21 white men, 1 white woman, 26 black men, 1 Hispanic man, and 1 Asian man. The majority of people on death row in Tennessee are black men, making up 52% of death row inmates. The death penalty is an expensive way that justice can be served. In Tennessee, a death row trial on average costs $46,791 compared to the sentence of life without parole of $31,494. According to Tennessee, conservatives concerned about the death penalty, states that have the death penalty spend an average of $2 million more serving justice. Furthermore, it has been proven that the death penalty does not deter crime. The results of a New York Times study concluded that states who had the death penalty had a homicide rate 48% to 101% higher than the national average. Purvis Payne, a Tennessee man, has been on death row for 32 years. Payne's case is one riddled with racism and negligent police work. Payne has also been diagnosed with an intellectual disability, which House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1236 would make him ineligible for the death penalty. Furthermore, there is untested DNA evidence in Payne's case that would either prove or disprove his innocence. Throughout his case, he was portrayed to be a hypersexual, violent, drug-addicted black man. Although he was accused of taking drugs on the night of the crime, Payne had no history of drug use. Many people in support of the death penalty argue that the system provides closure to victims' families. Many of these families state that an execution does not stop the pain. It simply passes it on to another family. Dustin Higgs was executed on January 16, 2021. One of his alleged victim sisters, Tangi Jackson, stated, "They are now going to go through the pain we experienced. When the day is over, your death will not bring my sister and the other victims back. This is not closure." If legislation were to be passed about the death penalty, it would go through House and Senate committees. There is currently a bill concerning the death penalty and intellectual disabilities. These bills state that it is unconstitutional for someone with an intellectual disability to be executed. As of March 10th, 2021, there have been no votes concerning these bills. Both the House and Senate committees are predominantly Republican, which most likely means that this bill would fail and be rejected. If legislation concerning the death penalty were to make it to Congress, much like House Bill 1 and Senate Bill 1236 have, they would pass through the House Criminal Justice Committee and Senate Judiciary Committee. Since these committees are predominantly Republican, the chances of it passing are slim. Throughout this project, I was able to find 3 Tennessee organizations advocating for the reform of the death penalty in Tennessee. Tennesseans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty is an organization of like-minded people who advocate for alternatives to the death penalty in Tennessee. In recent years, they have been key to passing fair trial laws and death penalty reformation bills. Tennessee Conservatives Concerned About the Death Penalty is an organization of conservatives who believe that the death penalty goes against their moral and conservative views. Just City Memphis fights to get people who are wrongfully convicted out of jail and reintegrated into society. They also advocate for the abolishment or reformation of the death penalty in Tennessee. This project allowed me to gain skills such as giving an elevator speech, speaking to legislators, and being more comfortable giving a speech. These skills will greatly aid me in future career endeavors. One obstacle that I faced throughout this project was a lack of senator and representative participation. In order to combat this, I reached out to local people that I knew had political connections, hoping that they might have an in to a representative. Luckily, one of them did, and I was able to speak on the phone with my local representative, Ron Trout. Thank you for your time.